Math phobia is nothing but math anxiety. Quantiphobia, mathophobia, and mathematics learning distress are descriptive phrases that represent the same phenomenon. Despite these variations, majority prefer to use the term math anxiety. Math anxiety is a serious obstacle for many students of all levels, starting from primary to collegiate level. Research shows that math anxious students learn less math than their low anxious peers. This is because they take fewer math classes and get poor marks in mathematics. Also, some students do not like mathematics simply for the reason that they are scared of it. They do not feel like they will be able to understand the concepts. Further, the students have fear about mathematics, do not try hard to understand and finish their homework. They set themselves up for failure before they even attempt to succeed. Thus, math anxiety is a real problem faced not only by the sighted but also by the visually impaired students. Math teacher especially needs to understand the causes and effects of math anxiety in students. They should also work out the ways to help them to overcome it. Math anxiety is defined as negative emotions that interfere with solving of mathematical problems. Further, it is defined as feelings of tension and anxiety. This feeling will interfere with the manipulation of numbers and solving of mathematical problems in a variety of ordinary life and academic situations. Teachers and parents who are afraid of mathematics pass that on to their students and children. It could be very difficult for students to like mathematics when their parents did not do well in mathematics themselves. On the other hand, if teacher does not value mathematics, his students certainly cannot be expected to value mathematics either. Teachers may not be willing to give extra help to students who need it. Also, teachers may become angry or frustrated when their student does not understand the problems. Further, they may have unrealistic expectations of their students. Some teachers are having the habit of assigning mathematics problems as punishment for misbehavior. This causes students to dislike mathematics. The traditional method will create a boring impression about math learning among students. As mathematics is an abstract concept, teachers encourage students to memorize the formulas and theorems. This ultimately leads students to develop fear in learning maths. Also, the examination and evaluation pattern inculcate negative feelings in students. Further, teachers' inability to identify students' learning styles fail to adapt the suitable teaching style. This results in mismatch between teachers' teaching style and students' learning style. In most of the schools, the math teaching aids are completely not available or available partially. Math teachers are also not interested in preparing teaching aids as it is time consuming. Instead of teaching aids, they tend to give notes and demonstrate the practical aspects of the lesson. In this case, students remain passive participants and are expected to listen and observe only. A teaching approach that centers only on teacher is awful for math teaching and learning. This approach soon kills the interest of students in learning math. Teaching abstract concepts to students urges teacher competency. As teachers are not trained to teach mathematics in a simple and lucid manner, students feel mathematics even more challenging. They avoid application aspects of mathematics because of number of reasons. Further, pre-service teachers are not given adequate training to cope with math anxiety among students. Overcrowding in classroom has negative effect on the quality of teaching and learning achievements. Except in few schools, majority of the school classrooms are crammed with more than 100 students. Large class affects the teacher-student interaction. Therefore, they have less opportunity to individually attend the problems of students in learning math concepts. The first reason that brings internal fear is the presence of an authoritative figure. The teacher is seen as making judgments about the right and wrong, which places a lot of pressure on the student. It is not possible for teachers to leave their students alone during mathematics class, but teachers can find ways to make their presence less threatening. Many students have a misconception that they should do mathematics quickly. This emphasis on speed causes nervousness as well. This negative view of mathematics originates from speed drills that occur frequently in elementary schools. Math test will also cause anxiety in students. As soon as math test is announced, students start to fear it. This prolonged fear causes nervousness. The fact that classroom is a public place also has an effect on math anxiety. Students do not like to admit their fears or limitations to others. They fear going to class where they may be asked to do problem on the board in front of other students. Sometimes teachers can discourage students from doing well in mathematics and cause math anxiety without realizing it. One of the major negative consequences of mathematics anxiety is mathematics avoidance. Students with math anxiety take fewer math classes and avoid majors and career paths that depend heavily on quantitative skills or mathematics. This avoidance of math leads to a limiting of career choices. Math anxiety is a serious problem. Students may experience math anxiety in many forms and degrees, from freezing up during a math exam to attempting to avoid anything to do with numbers. The three possible traits that math anxiety can inculcate in an individual are physical, cognitive and behavioral. Physical traits are related to physiological reactions, which includes nausea, shortness of breath, sweating, increased blood pressure and likely physiological reactions. Cognitive traits leads to inability to concentrate, memory loss, poor performance, lack of problem solving ability, loss of self-confidence and so on. Psychological or behavioral traits includes avoidance of math classes, isolation, angry, high negative emotions and feeling of helplessness. It is important to remember that math anxiety is a learned psychological response to math. It is not a reflection of a student's true ability in math. Therefore, students can utilize certain strategies to overcome the anxiety response in math. When a student gets anxious or frustrated while dealing with math and numbers, it may be interpreted that they have math phobia or anxiety. The four common symptoms that can help the students to recognize math phobia is panic, paranoia, passive behavior and lack of confidence. Panic is the feeling of helplessness or terror associated with math class, tests, quizzes and homework. Whereas paranoia is the feeling of mistrust and passive behavior is giving up on trying to learn and understand math holistically. Lack of confidence is losing belief in oneself in doing math problems accurately. As with most phobias and addictions, the first step to treatment is admitting the problem. Having math phobia in itself does not make anyone a bad person, but not dealing with it will affect one's life negatively. Asking questions will make students to feel confident. Students should not feel embarrassed about asking a question. If one student does not understand something, it is likely that there is at least one other student who is also confused. Students can answer easier problems first and then work their way through the more difficult ones. Students can take time to skip over a problem when they get stuck and can always go back to it later. By this, students can arrest the feeling of nervousness by seeing and solving the most difficult problem later. Instead of cramming for a test the night before, students can set aside time each day to study and practice math problems. This will decrease their anxiety about having enough time to learn everything they need to know. Repeated long-term practice will help them to remember how to solve things when stressed in a testing environment. Also, studying early gives time to focus on the concepts that are more difficult to master. Students should try to perceive the importance of tests in right way. The test is only to measure how well one has learned the material in the unit it covers. It is not about one's overall worth as a student or a person. They should take enough time to read a question over to understand it and at the same time try to use their limited time wisely. Students can change their way of studying math. They can try to read the lesson over several times. Time can be spent to read the difficult passages. In addition, they can write down questions and doubts to be asked during class. Further, they can learn to take lecture notes and try to study in groups. Working in study group can sometimes help students to understand the subject better than doing everything alone. It is no surprise that confidence is a huge factor in students' anxiety towards mathematics. Previous negative experiences with the subject can lead to a negative and pessimistic attitude. To overcome this, teachers should provide students with regular confidence building exercises. This boosts in confidence and self-efficacy, which decreases anxiety and fear. Teachers should review basic mathematics skills within their students. They need to make sure that their students can read and speak math language. Giving students opportunities to practice and master essential skills for computational fluency is essential. When students do not have the basic skills at hand, their working memories are taxed and this can be both distracting and discouraging. Teachers should get students to practice mental math and basic math skills regularly. This shall be achieved by involving them in games and warm-up activities. Also, teacher can give specific examples and applications of mathematics in developing students' basic skills. Teachers can chunk materials into smaller steps for better understanding and master one step before moving to the next. They can use guided discovery where the building of skills and concepts is carefully scaffolded. This will enable students to try out and practice each step. Allowing students to do mathematics in groups will enable them to be successful in reducing math anxiety. Cooperative learning is one way that students can get support from their peer group. Sometimes students can explain concepts in a manner that their peers will understand. In cooperative learning, teachers' role is to ensure that the students are explaining the concepts correctly. This is a sort of positive attitude where students are believed to enhance their abilities. This will eliminate the role of student effort and self-efficacy. Encouraging a growth mindset and risk-taking nature can motivate students. For this, teachers can give tough problems to students to practice. This will enable students to face any challenges through hard work and practice. Like cognitive strategies, affective strategies are also important in overcoming math phobia. This will further influence students' motivation towards learning math. Teachers are instrumental in creating positive and active learning environments. They can incorporate math puzzles and games into explanations and examples. By demonstrating an enjoyment and appreciation of mathematics, teachers can encourage a healthy relationship with the subject. This can really help teachers to reduce math anxiety. Professional development also helps teachers network with fellow educators to mentor and support each other in teaching mathematics. Teachers should play a significant role in reducing test anxiety. They can develop test taking skills in students. Along with this, teachers need to look for warning signs in students that panic them about mathematics. The warning signs may include noticeable physical manifestations like glazed eyes, rigidity of posture, and overall look of nervousness. The teacher should try to make the testing situation as unthreatening as possible. Even they can ask students to write journals. This will allow them to talk about their frustrations and successes with mathematics. Another idea is to utilize alternate form of assessment. For instance, teacher shall teach students to read and study mathematics like they would do in other subjects. Further, they can help students to use constructive self-talk. This self-talk will encourage them to be confident. Parents should look for their children's interest in doing math homework. They should pay close attention towards their children's behavior. Also, they should find out the warning signs in their children's behavior. Positive reinforcement is a great way to help them to overcome math phobia. Instead of being negative when they get something wrong, parents can talk about the problems with them. Also, they can emphasize the aspects that they get correct. Parents can appreciate the skills that their children have mastered and be positive about the one that still need to be improved. There are several ways through which parents can encourage a positive environment to learn mathematics. One way is giving support through positive talk. This will inculcate confidence in them. Allow them to set up a study environment that suits them. Parents should not allow visual distractions such as television or internet. They may prefer background music or to study on the floor supported by pillows instead of sitting at a desk. Allow calculators and computers for doing actual calculations. At the same time, encourage them to solve problems without any assistance. Parents can also hire a tutor. This will help their students to get one-to-one assistance. Further, extended study of performing math calculations without a break can lead to frustration. Parents can allow students to take a short break. This helps to process the information and avoid prolonged frustration. Math plays a significant role in various day-to-day activities like cooking, sports, and housekeeping. Showing the practical uses of math will motivate children to learn math instead of fear. Math problems can be turned into an interesting task while doing along with daily household activities. Math subject is not believed to be a fun subject. In fact, it is a fun subject if approached in a right way. There are different games that teach logical thinking, skills, number recognition and probability. Parents can engage their students in puzzles like magic squares. This will help students to enjoy maths. Math humor in the form of cartoons and jokes helps students to take math less seriously. Parents can buy such books and introduce to their children. Knowledge about the teaching method will assist parents to teach in a more appropriate method suitable to their children in home environment. Apart from teaching methods, parents should also know about their children's teachers. This will enable the parents to discuss the problems faced by children with teacher. In addition to the calculator and computer, there are number of math teaching aids to assist in performing basic calculations. Parents should be aware of different math manipulatives available that makes learning easier. Another important thing the parents can do is to encourage their children to not compare their abilities with their classmates. Every child will have a tendency to come home and complain that they are not as good as math as one of their classmates. Parents should discourage such talks among them and clarify that each and every one learns at a different pace. Math is visual in nature and can therefore present many challenges for students with visual impairment. The lack of visual perception in visually impaired makes math learning even more challenging compared to sighted peers. Manipulative materials or objects designed to represent explicitly and concretely the mathematical ideas that are abstract in nature. They have both visual and tactual appeal and can be manipulated by learners through hands-on experiences. If necessary, they may also be accompanied with auditory cues. This strategy of using manipulative approaches a problem in an insightful manner. This could reduce anxiety by avoiding traditional instructions. Like manipulatives, assistive technology helps visually impaired students to increase their access to the math curriculum. This will also help to gradually improve their academic performance. It is important to thoughtfully consider what devices, tools and technologies will be appropriate to meet the students' individual and unique learning needs. There are certain devices like talking calculators, software to read text, print and video magnifiers, tactile graphic tools, braille writers, virtual math manipulatives and adaptive keyboards. These are some of the devices that assist them to do maths. It tailors problems according to students' responses. Also, these kind of instructions supplies immediate feedback for each response. It uses a combination of various virtual manipulatives. This will assist visually impaired in auditory, tactual and visual means to enhance their learning process. There are generally two types of computer assisted instructions. They are individualistic and cooperative computer assisted instructions. Individualized computer instructions will help to improve examination scores. It also has significant effect on academic self-concept and math anxiety by helping visually impaired to take repeated drills and retests. In cooperative computer assisted instructions, student will have an opportunity to discuss the problems that appear on the monitor with the sighted peers. They try to recall the appropriate procedures and examine errors before recording the results. Above all, the self-regulation techniques help the students to direct their energies towards improving their mathematical abilities and solving problems. Above all, the self-regulation techniques help the students to direct their energies towards improving their mathematical abilities and solving problems. It also helps them to overcome stereotypes and biasness in learning math concepts. Math biographies, journaling, attacking the root of math anxiety, and positive math self-talk can all help the visually impaired as discussed earlier. Teachers can communicate with their students in a more conducive way. They can allow students to work in groups. They can also use flexible methods of content presentation. Teachers can involve themselves to break problems into different tasks for better communication. Retesting and drilling in teaching and learning of math concepts are possible instructional techniques that increase students' performance. Retest may help students to counter past feelings of failure, whereas drilling allows for practicing the difficult math problems repeatedly. Self-paced learning could also be another suggestion for reducing math anxiety among visually impaired students. In this kind of learning, students can start and complete learning targets at any time. This will allow them to have a learning schedule that meets their individual needs. They can complete their learning in any setting. Opportunities should be created for students to learn in their home or a familiar environment. When they are in familiar environment, students are more relaxed and can concentrate on their learning can also progress at a pace that suits the learner. When they work at a fast pace, they have the opportunity to gain competency quickly. On the other hand, students who learn at a slower pace have the opportunity for repetition without being pushed ahead to quickly reduce math anxiety. Further, relaxation therapies like meditation, yoga, and psychotherapy could be effective in reducing math anxiety, not only in sighted peers but also in visually impaired students. In addition to these therapies, systematic desensitization along with anxiety management training will be effective in eliminating math anxiety.